in the beginning that you need so much focus on the pillow. I don't know if it's seen on the camera. Most of it is in the middle. Hi everyone. Get comfortable because here's another session of asthma. Therefore, it's your relax time. I'm gonna scratch lightly. Any dry skin if it's there, so that later on I could need to pick those. Starting from the side, but there's usually very little. I don't know what's the reason, but usually most of it is in the middle. Not a long time ago, I was reading an interesting book. I forgot its name, but it was basically about breathing. Sounds odd, right? A book about breathing. It seems something so simple, but it has to think about. It just happens. But after reading that book, I really started approaching this matter very differently. I was the typical example of the book that they say one should not be. Basically, our body to function properly needs liquids, right? Solids like food, minerals and vitamins and so on, sugars, basically nutritions. And then we need gases, mostly oxygen, right? And many people, including me, at least before, kinda starve themselves when it comes to breathing. And the body is not properly fed with oxygen, which is vital for every function of everything in your body. Now people usually are having a short breath. They just breathe slightly in and then out. They don't really move much when it comes to some belly movement. It's just kind of a moveless breath, I would say. But that's really, according to the book, not enough. And I can testify from my own experience that once I started breathing willingly rather than it happening to me, I really felt a certain change, I would say. It has, according to the book, 3 phases. You breathe in your belly. You try to let it go all in the belly, so your belly kinda gets bigger as you breathe in. Then when it's full, you breathe in your chest, so your chest kinda gets bigger also, or gets in front, I don't know how to say it. And then once that's full, you kinda lift your shoulders a little bit more to get in, and that's a good breath. And then you breathe out, and of course you breathe through nostrils because it's a kind of a natural filter, and it also cools down or heats up the air to the body temperature. And that's the thing I really found myself benefiting most, that's noticeable to me, is that I used to be very cold when it came to swimming in water or wearing flip-flops without socks and so on. But now as I breathe properly, it feels like my body can so much better regulate its temperature and withstanding the external circumstances. And mostly my feet don't get cold anymore. And I do tend to forget to breathe properly, especially when you like overthinking something. That's where you kind of tend to get to that short breathness like during stress, because overthinking is basically a stress. So it's kind of crazy to counter strike willingly against this short breathness, and it even calms you down from the overthinking. And it's really odd because sometimes I'm so lazy and I just want to overthink even though I don't want to overthink. So I go back to breathing deeply, and it's like it is just focusing on your breath. It doesn't sound like much, and it sounds like it's just some nonsense, but clearly it works for people. They tend to write books about it, and I've tried it, and I really found increasing mood uplifting effects. The best thing is when you kind of get into an automatic mode and you keep breathing that way for hours. And another benefit that it did to me is that it straightened my back much more. I walk much more straight. You know, I used to be bent a little bit, especially in my upper back. But now, once you try to get as much oxygen in your lungs as possible, you have to be biologically and proportionally natural. You cannot be bent or twisted in any way. You just have to be in the posture that the body was built for, basically. Aches are gone. It really helped me so much. Such simple thing. So I really recommend people to do breathing exercises. It has, it makes sense. We can only go without breathing. How much? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then it's really starting to take the toll on but it kind of, I would say, a sensation of lightness. I even remember asking, why do people take drugs when you can just breathe properly? So the question is that high something high, or is it actually normal and we just live in anxious world where we set a new normal that's actually just a survival mode in case you see a bear and you're supposed to, run, and the oxygen is supposed to, mobilize just muscles to fight or fly. But we seem to be in that state a little bit too long and a little bit too often. Also, according to book, digesting works better if you breathe accordingly to the book. That many digestive problems are because of bad breathing. Very interesting book, but I read so many books I don't remember the names. Very few books I remember, that's the thing. Once I see the title, I know I read it, but I keep saying read, but I actually listen to audiobooks, but I just find it odd to say I heard that book. So the thing is, I don't even know how long these books are, like pages wise, because I just listen to them. So I know long book is 9 hours, short book is 2 hours, but I don't know how many pages there is. Actually, when you think about it, even singers, they have to learn how to breathe, otherwise the vocal cord wouldn't work that nice. So clearly, really proper breathing is a must. It's not something we should not pay attention to. It also helps the immune system to be strong enough, basically. I mean, there's a huge difference if somebody feeds an animal properly, right, and if somebody doesn't feed an animal properly. Huge difference. Now that's the same when it comes to breathing. Like, isn't it enough we all are guilty kind of eating junk food, either often or sometimes? So let's at least give our body the basic needed needs, which is oxygen, because you can go without food like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm not sure. Without water 3 days, but without oxygen, that's a matter of seconds. So the importance is undeniable. So I really suggest, guys, that a moment of day, you just sit 10 minutes and do nothing but breathe. Just do the breathing exercise, like breathe. Stomach, chest, shoulders out. Stomach, chest, shoulders out. And just cannot get in touch with your own body. It's like you reconnect, when you drive for the first time, you kind of scared, you drive 50 is that it's good to reconnect. We take breathings for granted, but imagine you could be amazed again and again, over and over, by the 15 miles per hour. And that's what I do with breathing. I keep reconnecting with my body that I so got used to. It's like my consciousness completely filtered my own body out, and I just focus on thoughts. So I really find it amazing to just be mindful of body, because the body is mindful in some sense. Actually, somebody I read in one book that, maybe it's that one, I'm talking about like embody the mind, because the body is mindful. And that's what you do when you breathe. You kind of stop the intellect, and you just are, you just being at the moment. It's a different way of being, I would say. You don't think, you don't solve issues, you don't come with solutions, you just exist at that moment. And that's a very liberating feeling. So, just like we have different sleeps, we have REM sleep and the other phases of sleep. So we breathe differently when we sleep, right? It's more like it's very different breath, because it's just the body being. But once you wake up, you kinda switch and start breathing differently. Not because the waking state requires it, but because your thoughts get you in alert state, and you feel like, especially anxious people, that they're in some kind of danger and they need to figure out how to get out of. But imagine if you could be in that deep breath that you have during sleep all the time, and you could be in that kind of it's funny because they call it a state of awakeness, yet you kind of half asleep. It's like a different waves, different vibrations. So yeah, here is some mess on the pillow. I don't know if it's seen on the camera a little bit. So there was something to scratch, but not so crazy much. Let's go check here in the middle. I'll just scratch it so that the nitpicking can be more fruitful. But really there's not much, and I don't want to do it so hardly to destroy the braids and unplug them from the... So I think that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching us. We really enjoy your feedback, and we're so grateful that we help people to fall asleep, to stop being on medications for sleep. That's really so honorable. Like, we are so happy for that. It's just beyond something we could imagine. So thank you for watching. You can follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and so on. The links are down in the description.